And welcome to Friday Live with me, Steve Whelan from My Tennis Coaching. And today we're going to talk about the best drills for beginner tennis players. This presentation or this webinar is based on my blog post, which did really well this week, where I put forward some ideas of how to work with beginner players. And a bit of background, I was observing a beginner's tennis session the other week at a tennis club where I was doing some coach education, and it wasn't the greatest lesson in the world. And I believe that coaching beginners is quite difficult. It's probably the hardest group to coach because they've got very limited skill level, generally got very limited experience level. And it's what I joke about being real coaching. So in today's webinar, I'm going to show you some best practice of how I believe is the best way to coach adults. It's going to have a little bit of theory at the middle, or sort of a little bit of theory in the beginning. And then I'm going to show you sort of 6 or 7 drills that I do with adults to sort of improve their performance quite quickly. So here are the problems when coaching adult beginners. Tennis is a multi-skill game. Tennis is very difficult. It's not as easy as golf, and I normally get sort of some golf hate here because golf, you just send the ball and the ball's static. It's on the floor and you just send it. Very, very easier than tennis. Very difficult sport, but a lot easier than tennis. Tennis is tough. You've got to be mentally good, physically good. You've got to have good tactics, good technique. You need lots of skills, and it's not easy to pick up and play tennis. It looks really easy when you watch Wimbledon on TV, but it's not that easy when you pick it up and sort of try and play yourself. Tennis is a receiving and sending game. Again, golf, you just send the ball. It'd be very much more difficult if the golf ball was hit towards you. Then you've got to hit the ball back and then try and keep it into a smaller space. Tennis is very much a receiving and sending game, but very often it's focused as a sending game, which is not the case. And it's an open environment. There's no guarantees in tennis. That ball can come at you high. It can come at you low. It can come fast. It can come slow. Topspin, slice. So many things can happen. The weather can change. Line call, net cord. Your player could be playing awful 1 minute, the next minute they get the eye of the tiger, Rocky style, and they come back and they come at you and they're really fired up, and it's completely over a complete open environment, and it changes all the time. That's tough to deal with mentally. Plus, also you never get the same ball twice, and it's full of mood swings, which I put in there, and it's full of highs. You win, then it's full of lows. You lose, and you could win 2 points in a row, then lose 6. 1 minute you're happy, 1 minute you're sad, and 1 minute you're relaxed, next minute you're nervous and you're stressed and you're anxious, and that's all in 1 point. And tennis is so tough mentally. And there's a great graph that I seen a while back. I think I shared it on my Instagram of like the momentum or mood swing of a tennis player. It's like up and down. Whereas a sprinter, it's straight line, and at the end you have a win and happy, or you lose and your confidence goes down. Football tend to lose confidence when they concede a goal, but you might only concede 1 goal in 90 minutes. Tennis players, you may concede 20-30 points in a very short amount of time, so your mood's all over the place. And last but not least, I think the biggest problem with tennis is it's often perceived the wrong way. A lot of players believe that Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, Raducanu, Serena, Venus, they have these massive long rallies, which they don't. The average rally is 4, which we know it's a very common stat these days. The most common rally length is 1. The serve goes in and very rarely comes back. And they believe tennis players hit the ball hard all the time, which they don't. And they believe tennis played really low to the net, which we'll look at today, which it isn't. It's played very high over the net. So the perception of tennis is completely wrong. People watch it on TV and they just think Djokovic attacks every ball. They think that Raducanu hits the ball really low every time. It's completely fake. And I think part of our role as tennis coaches, especially beginners, is to break down that misconception or how people perceive the game. And as tennis coaches, we often get this so wrong because it is a multi-sport game, and it's open and things happen all the time, but yet we teach in such isolation. And the clip I'm going to show you is a coaching session. And it's a very classic coaching session. I guarantee for those of you who are players or coaches, if you go into your club tonight or tomorrow, you'll see this type of lesson being delivered. Coach one end, players the other, coach feeding in balls. Let's run the video.
Short ball, volley, volley.
And I know why coaches do that. They do it to control the environment. They do it so they can feed the ball into the player. It makes it easy for the player. The player should be able to make contact. So the coach starts using low compression balls, which is good. But the coach is controlling the environment. The coach is, to paraphrase an ex-colleague of mine, to make them feel good. Yeah, so they're making the player feel good about themselves. But the issue is it's so closed. Like, it's so isolated. The coach has given them the perfect ball. They're moving in. They're hitting good shots. There's no idea where the ball's going. The ball can be going anywhere. But the coach is still feeding that next ball. So there's no consequence to sort of how they hit the previous shot. And it's classic coaching, but in my eyes, it's archaic. It's old. It's how they coached 20, 30 years ago. And I'm not saying that I'm against basket drilling, because I think sometimes we have to close the drill down to develop the skill. But I do think that working with beginners is probably the wrong way, because it's too closed, it's too isolated, it's too perfect. And what tends to happen a lot in these situations is, and I've done it myself, hands up, I've done it myself, and I've basket fed the player and it's really closed, and the player can perform the skill really well. But then when you put it back into the game situation, they can't play it. It's completely different because the ball's coming at different heights, different speeds. The game's not played in isolation. Again, this is a clip from the Laver Cup last week. We won't mention Federer and start crying. But so dynamic, lots of movement, ball traveling different heights, different speeds, players moving from attacking positions to defensive positions, players trading, trying to build, looking to finish. It's so dynamic, and that's what's awesome. And that's what we fall in love with the game. And sometimes as coaches, we focus on the descending part of the game. We focus on the technique, and this is the hitting process that the Lawn Tennis Association use here in the UK. So hitting is a process. So we have to be ready. So in our athletic ready position, we have to read the ball, see where the ball's going. Whether going deep, short, forehand, backhand. Then we got to react. So we've got to either maybe perform a split step or a unit turn. We then have to set up. So we've got to move to the ball and try and be balanced before we make contact. And then we send the ball. Then we hit it. So we've got 4 stages before we even make contact with the ball. And then we have to recover back to a decent court position. And we've got 1.5 seconds to perform all that. And then it repeats, and you may have to do it 4 or 5 times, depending on the length of the rally. That's a long process to go through. And if you think about back to that video that I showed of the coach at the start, the coach is basket feeding. So the player knows where it's going. So that's my voice, by the way, you can hear short ball volley, short ball volley. The player knows where it's going. So they're already moving to that position because they know it's going short. They know they're going to play a volley next. So their reading and reacting skills are taken out because they already know where to go. And it's very technique focused. But if we look at the process in terms of skills, you will see there that the technical skill to send the ball back is such a small part. Like, if you look at ready, mentally ready, focused, physically ready, feet apart, knees bent, racket head up. Then you got the read, mental. They have to have those perception skills to see where the ball's going. Reaction, setup, physical. Yeah, whether it be a split step, crossover, move to the ball, run step, and then balance, wide base, close stance, whatever you want to call it. That's all physical skill. Only when you make contact with the ball do your tactical and technical skills come in. And then you got to recover, which is physical. Also could be a bit tactical as well. So technique plays such a small part in the solution. So when we're working with beginners, we need to get away from all this technical coaching. I understand technique is important. It's the how we perform tactical skill. I understand that 100%. But we need to be able to teach beginners especially all these skills at once. because that's the game. The game involves you performing all these skills, mental, physical, tactical, technical, all at once in 1.5 seconds, which is the average speed of between shots. But Steve, you're telling me they can't hit the ball, mate. Like I'm really trying. Like they can't rally. They can't rally. I have to basket feed. So I hear that a lot, and I agree sometimes. Okay, yeah, your adults really can't hit the ball. Well, let's change it then. Let's change it. And I think one of the main things with closing it down is it's too static, it's closed. And there's a lot of research on this. And anyone who follows me on social media at My Tennis Coaching Quick Plug will know how big I am on game-based coaching and constraint-based coaching. And I'm not your traditional coach. I won't basket feed you. And the research shows that if you basket feed somebody, they'll develop the skill really quick. So they will develop the skill really quickly and they'll learn it really fast. The issue is they won't be able to repeat that skill under pressure or in a more open situation. Like I mentioned before, you'll teach the skill, but they won't be able to do it in a match situation. And we've all done sessions where you've worked on something, it's worked really well, and you put them in points at the end, and you think, oh my God, they learned nothing. And it's because the situation's changed. The research shows that people who learn in game-based situations or constraint-based situations, playing the game, they learn a little bit slower. So they don't learn the skill as quick, but they learn the skill under pressure and they can replicate and perform that skill in the pressure situation. So straight away, it will look messy. And I say this all the time, tennis should look messy because the game is messy itself. But if we teach in a more game-based style, they'll be able to perform that under pressure and it will stick. Also, by closing the drill down and making it static, it gives the player a false sense of security. Goes back to that coach I mentioned before. It makes them feel good, which, great. You probably want them to feel good to come back. But then when they play a match, they're not going to feel good because it's completely different. The stress levels go through the roof. The anxiety goes through the roof and they're not used to it. And that's not a good experience. And that's why you'll find a lot of beginners, or sorry, even improvers, they'll conduct lots of coaching, but they won't play matches. And they won't play matches because of the stress and the anxiety of that pressure situation, because it's not real. And when we technical coach too much, we bring awareness to problems. And obviously, if you're a tennis coach or player of any age, you probably read The Inner Game of Tennis, and it's a great book. I really recommend anyone reading that if you play or coach tennis. When we bring awareness to things we can't do well, it adds stress and anxiety. We all play our best tennis when our subconscious plays, when we're not thinking. The zone, the bubble. You hear athletes talk about this all the time. And I play my best tennis when I'm not thinking, when I'm just relaxed and I'm just really, really smooth. When I think about my grip, or if somebody's watching, or I've been working on my path of the racket recently, that's when I start making more mistakes, because I'm aware of it. And when we coach and we give out all these technical information, we're bringing awareness to it. And it's very judgmental, because you're judging somebody. You're telling them what they can and can't do. And imagine now if I stand here or sit here in front of you and get your technique on the screen and analyze it in front of 10, 15 people and tell you what you can't do. It's going to shatter your confidence. And it's also very outcome-based. Can you get the ball in? And the problem of being outcome-based is if you can't get it in, those stress and those anxiety levels raise and raise all the time. So we need to be less outcome-focused and more process-focused. So what's the solution? And this is not my solution. It's game-based coaching. It's been around, I think, since the late 70s, maybe even earlier. Most sports have a game-based approach or constraint-based approach. And it's just playing the game. If you think back to, again, if you're my age, we didn't have tennis coaches back in the late 80s, early 90s. How did I learn how to play tennis? I learned with my mates. And I put a good post up this week on my socials of the best drill in the world. You have a serve at one end, a return at the other. Server serves the ball in, returner hits it back. You rally to someone misses. The drill's called tennis. That's the best drill, because you learn all those multi-skills we talked about before. You learn how to deal with the adapting and changing environments. But we need to make it a little bit easier than that, because we mentioned before, the biggest issue with adults is they can't hit the ball back at all. So how can we do it? What I tend to do is just change one or two things, like change the space, make it smaller. So rather than playing a full singles court, use half a court. Rather than playing half a court, use service boxes. You just got to be careful, because if you make the space too small, it's actually really hard to control the ball in a smaller space. You need some good skills, good contact point, good hands. So you don't want to make it too small. There's always a balance with that. So just be careful of making it too small. You could change the task. So change the game. So don't try and teach everything at once. So you may sort of allow players to have two bounces. You may allow players to have two touches. You may allow players to score points for hitting the ball above head height, which is one drill we'll look at today. Change the equipment. Use a slower compression ball. Yeah, mini orange ball, mini green. Some adults won't like using it, but you can buy orange and green balls now that just look like a regular tennis ball. It's slower. It just gives them more time. And change the people. What I always joke with this, you can't sort of say you can't play, so you can't come back. But change the people. If you rotate people around more often, I think some of the examples there, I rotate around maybe 60, 90 seconds, maybe 120 seconds, 2 minutes tops. If you rotate players around, they play with different people, and you don't get stuck with a complete beginner. You don't get stuck with a club champion. And if it's 120 seconds, you may have a bad 120 seconds, but then you might get someone new in it, and it resets and starts again. So I think these very key coaching skills, which for those of you who coach, again, this is just differentiation. You really should know this sort of back to front. But for those who are parents or players or just friends looking to play with each other, don't be afraid to change stuff. Like, we're not expecting you to play yellow ball on a full court if you can barely hit the ball back over. Change it, make it easier. Then as you get better, make the space a bit bigger. Change the ball. Change the rules. You don't have to play the full set of rules. It's not Wimbledon. You can have two bounces. You can have two touches. You can play in a smaller space, a bigger space. Yeah, that's more important than sort of trying to play like Andy Murray or Roger Federer or Venus Williams. So what I'm going to show you next is a collection of drills and activities. These were all filmed on a couple of coach education workshops that I was running, level 2 or instructor course here in the UK. Not sure how that transfers across to other courses across the world. And these are actual real adult drills that I've done with adult beginners, and they work really well. And they're generally week 1 drills, so first week in. And the warm up here is a great one. And with each video, I'll sort of give a little bit of insight to why it works, in my opinion, and sort of what's good about it as well. And Fast Feet Warrior is a very simple drill. You get all the players facing you, so you're the coach or the activator in the middle. And I like this at the start of the first session because it gets the players around you and they can all see you, but more importantly, they can see each other as well. One of my biggest bugbears as a coach educator or coach is when coaches line players up on lines. And I get it, because you want them to see and be safe. And you'll see later on that my players will line up in a line when they're watching the demonstrations. But in the first one, if you get them seeing each other, they can make eye contact. They can sort of share some smiles and hellos and stuff. It's a bit more friendly. And I always say it's a bit like a wedding table. It's a circle for a reason, because if it's not a circle, then you're not going to talk to anyone, not engage with anyone. So Fast Beat Warrior, I'll sort of play the clip and you can sort of see me do the demo, and I'll talk why it works.
Any injuries that I need to know about? No heart defects or anything like that. No, just checking. I have had that before in the cardio session. The guy was bright red. Long story.
True story.
So we're going to warm up. So what we do is get your best weight position just behind the line. And we're going to do a little bit of fast feet. Just get your feet going. If I call out number 1, we're going to go left foot over the line and back. 1. If I go 2, right foot. 2. 2. 1. If I go 3, both feet. And then back. 3. Okay, you ready? 1. 1. 1. 2. 2. 3. 3. 1. 2. 1. 1. 1. 2. 2. 3. 3. 3, 1, 1, and relax. Oh my word.
Hope you didn't see the mistake there. I called the wrong number, put the wrong foot forward. I'll just put that in to make sure I appear human. I'm not perfect. I'm just joking. Great warm up because it gets the heart racing. It's a bit of coordination in there as well. So obviously you've got to coordinate the feet with the commands. Bit of fun, but it engages the mind as well. And most adults hate doing warm ups. They don't want to do stretches and sort of silly little games as such. They want to just get in and play. But it's important they warm up because you want them to feel relaxed. If you go straight with rackets, I just think that if you're nervous and you're tense, that's a tough start because if you miss hit a couple of shots on those first few hits, then your confidence is going to drop. Whereas this one gets you moving, it's a bit of fun, you're going to have a bit of a laugh and giggle, and it also engages the mind and the body as well. So physically and mentally, I'm now switched on a bit more, but I'm starting to relax a little bit as well. I do love a bit of fast feet warm up. So now the players are nice and warm. I start with a bit of tap-up tennis, and coaches will know this game. It's a classic game. It's not saying I've invented this game. And before I get them hitting over the net, I like to get them to hit in a smaller space, over a smaller barrier. So in this case, they're going to hit over a line. I think I used a service line in the video. And what I'm doing is I'm just getting them to start to touch the ball in front of their shoes, start to feel the ball. Get their eye in is an old expression that I used to get told many years ago. But I'm just trying to build confidence. So to get confident touching the ball backwards and forwards. But also because the players are quite close, they can communicate and have a bit of a chat and talk as well. Again, I'm just trying to ease the players into the session, nice and fun, nice and relaxed, get them to engage. I think we have to sort of understand the importance of the social skills here, especially with beginners and adults, because the hardest role for me as a coach is not teaching a beginner. It's getting them on the court. That's the hardest bit because it looks so hard. It looks scary. They're embarrassed. They don't want to make a fool of themselves. So when they do have the courage to actually step on the court, I need to ease them in confidence-wise. And this is a great game.
I'm doing so well. So we're going to go over partner. We're going to find ourselves a service line. So we can use both courts now. George in that box. I'm in this box. And all we're going to do, sorry, not over the net, not yet. Yeah, you're too keen, man.
Come on, George.
Just in that box. So I'm just going to do a little racket and ball warm up. So as we're beginners, we're going to use a chopper grip. Best way to get a chopper grip, hold the racket on the side, shake hands. Yeah, so it's like you're hammering a nail or something, or an axe, whatever you do at home, I don't know. And all we're going to do is gently just push the ball backwards and forwards. So I'm going to push the ball over the line to George. He's going to push the ball back. So I'm just getting my racket face behind the ball and just gently pushing the ball backwards and forwards. When I feel comfortable, I'm going to use the opposite side of my racket, which is the backhand. So I'm going to try and use both sides and just push the ball backwards and forwards. But again, tennis is competitive. It'd be nice to see you move your partner around a little bit. So around in the boxes and just keeping the ball going, working together. What grip are we using? Chopper grip. Yeah, we get it by holding the racket on its side and then putting our hand around at the grip. Well done. Can we grab ourselves, not physically, a different partner? We can spread out over 2 courts. Let's go. So someone like me, if you're not working yet, I'll go with the spare bud.
I do hope people get my sense of humor sometimes when I'm tutoring. I do try and sort of make lighter stuff and crack a few jokes, just to ease people in. This is normally day one of the instructor course. So again, even coaches get nervous, so I'm trying to use a little bit of humor there, just to sort of break the ice, as they say. So now we've got them warming up. We want to get them playing over the net, and again, in the video, I get them playing quite close. Now, the video is a bit fake because it's a coach education video, so these can all play, but I'm getting them to play non-dominant hands, so they're at least not playing with their dominant hand, so they are at least struggling a little bit technically. And I want them to sort of just be able to achieve something really quick. And with the game of head tennis, it's a very simple game where The player just has to lift the ball above their head to score. So we want to hit the ball low to high, and I'll sort of explain why in the video. So I'm getting them to focus on what we call a process goal, something that they can do it, see and feel how. I'm not getting to hit 10, 15 shots in the court. First to 10, first to 15, which most coaches do. Again, that's very outcome based. If you only get one and the target's 10, like you're thinking, oh my God, I've got no chance. Players should be able to hit the ball above head height. And I'm also in this situation, I'm not setting them a target. And what I'll do is give them maybe 3 or 4 rotations, and they've just got to set the highest target in 60, 90 seconds. They rotate, change partners, and then they've just got to try and beat their own score. So there's no ego involved. So I'm not highlighting, oh, well done, Steve. Steve got 30. He's the leader. Way, Steve's amazing. Oh, Stephanie, what did you get? Oh, no, Stephanie only got 1. That's my female alter ego. So it's working on their own. They'll set a score of maybe 5. They rotate. Next time they get 6. Oh, yes, I've improved. Third round. Oh, I've got 10. Oh my God, I've gone from 5 to 10. Confidence goes through the roof. The Litsy's so happy, and it's such a silly game. Sorry, such a simple, silly game, but so effective. Let's see it in action, eh?
What I'm looking for is what the players can do and what maybe they're struggling with. And you lot are very experienced players. Even if you're non-dominant hand, you're playing quite well. Beginners won't be playing that well. So I'm going to imagine that the beginners are really struggling because they're hitting the ball too low to the net. A lot of beginners believe that Nadal, Federer, Raducanu, Whelan hit the ball really low because it's really tricky. It makes it really hard for opponents. But tennis players actually hit the ball about 6 feet off the ground, generally speaking, especially when they're pushed behind the baseline because they want to try and push their opponent back. Height's really effective because, one, the higher I hit the ball, the less chance I hit the net. But also, height's going to push my opponent back as well. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to go out. Oh, thanks, Jack. Didn't have to volunteer. And we're going to have a rally. So we're not going to go rally 1, 2, 3 now. We're going to rally between us. But we're going to aim every shot above head height. So above your own head height. And every time you get the ball above your own head height, you score 1 point. So for me to get the ball above head height, all I've got to do is get my racket face under the ball and then gently lift the ball up. So I'm going to swing low to high. So that would be 2. So I get under the ball, I lift it up. 3, 4, under the ball, lift it up. And as you can see, I've got more height. So I'm less chance of hitting the net or the players. And it also gives me a bit more time to get ready for the next shot as well. So height's really important for tennis players. And as you can see, I'm pushing Jack backwards a bit more as well. So if I hit the ball a bit deeper, I'm pushing him back, I'm making the court longer, more likely to force a mistake if it was competitive. So that's a challenge what I want to set now. So you're going to go out, you're going to rally for 30 seconds. I'm going to see which pair can get the most shots above head height. So to get the ball above head height, do I get my racket under the ball and lift it up, or my racket behind the ball and go side to side? Under the ball and lift it up. Checking for learning. See, good demonstration.
If I do say so myself. Very simple game. And I think a big takeaway here for me is, before I mentioned technique, like technique is still important. I'm not saying that you can't teach technique and you just set up games and let the players play. You still need to teach them how to perform it. And the how is the technique. The why is the tactics. The how is the technique. And what I'd like to take away from this clip is just how basic I make it sound. And I make it sound really simple. Get the racket head under the ball. You push from low to high. Path for the racket. Get the racket head under the ball. Push low to high. Lift it above head height. And I make it sound simple for a reason, because I want to take away the fear. And I've seen so many coaches go out, okay, we're going to go out, we're going to go semi-western grip, we're going to go close stance, we're going to rotate our hips and shoulders, we're going to swing low to high, finish our racket head above our shoulder, crossover step, pivot into a somersault, into a backflip, into a cartwheel, handstand. Wow, come on, it's too much information. Like, it's just too much info. Like, the goal here is to get the ball above head height. Tactically, why? 1, I won't hit the net. 2, I'll push my opponent back. How do I get the ball higher? I go low to high by getting my racket lower under the ball and lifting the ball up. Tennis is so simple, and coaches, we like to complicate it. And I think half the time is, one, we're trying to justify the money, which I get 100%. Like, people are paying us money, so we want to provide value. So we feel that the more information we give, the more value we give, which is, in my opinion, not always the right way. And two, we want to show how knowledgeable we are. A bit like me on this webinar now. I'm trying to show off how much I know. But even with this webinar, I'm trying to keep it really simple so you can take it away and make your players better. And I think sometimes that's what we need to do. We need to improve performance. It's not a showcase of, look how great I am, look how much I know, look how good my forehand is. And you've probably even seen the demonstration. I'm playing like a beginner. I don't play tennis that way. I've got a chopper grip. My technique, I'm getting the racket behind the ball. I'm pushing from behind the ball. There's no take back behind the body. I'm playing like a beginner because they're watching me. So visually, I want them to sort of subconsciously take in the movements and then try and replicate it. So again, coaching skills, we have to think about how powerful visualization is. So when we're doing these demonstrations and we're showing the games, we have to show them what we want to see them do. It's not time for me to show off how big my forehand is and how much topspin I can generate. Again, I see it with lots of coaches in terms of just smashing the ball and trying to show off a little bit. And I get that sometimes as well, because coaches are saying, well, if I can't hit the ball, then I lose credibility. Really? You're a coach. Like, try and coach first and check your ego in second. So now we get a little bit of success in terms of consistency. We can get the ball in, and this is what I call rally accuracy. Now I want to try and increase the rally threshold. So we want them to build up rallies at this stage. We don't want them to get sort of quite short rallies of 1 or 2. So the next game is building on the previous one. So this game's called Rally 1, 2, 3.
Partner. And all we're going to do as a pair, so non-dominant hand and the coach, you're the player, I can play my dominant hand, is we're going to have a game called Rally 1, 2, 3. So the first rally, we've got to get 1 shot. So I'm going to gently, again, racket head behind the ball. I'm going to gently punch the ball in. Sabine's going to stop it. Catch it. 1. Yes, Sabine, we've done it. We now have to get 2. 1, racket behind the ball, push the ball back. 2. Sabine's going to stop it. We now have to get 3. And you keep building it up. 1, 2, racket behind the ball and push. 3, I'll stop it and catch. And we're going to go for maybe 2-3 minutes. I'm going to see which pair can get the highest score. What do we start on? What number? 1. And when we hit the ball, do we get the racket face behind the ball or above the ball? Behind the ball. Checking for learning. Remember from your level 1? Yes, on camera.
So again, a little bit more outcome-based this one, because obviously they have to get the ball in the area to score the point. I think sometimes if it's too process-based and the last drill is above head height, then if they're smacking the ball out and they're still scoring, it can sort of make the waters a bit murky. So I like doing this game afterwards, or even sometimes before, which I think I did originally with this group. I think we started with this and then went on to the next one once I seen that they couldn't hit the ball that high. And I like this for 2 reasons. One, it builds up the rally threshold. They get comfortable keeping the ball going longer. But I really like the stop and catch element as well, because to stop the ball and catch it, you've got to make contact in front of your shoes. If you make contact late, the ball spins off and shoots behind you and you're sort of chasing after it. So subconsciously, I'm teaching them how to hit the ball in front of the shoes and control the racket in front of the body. And I'm not even mentioning that. And it's a really powerful one. And for anyone who ever sees me coach a lot of beginners, I do a lot of 2-touch stuff. 2-touch volleys, 2-touch ground strokes, 2-touch on the return, because it's great for just getting that contact out in front, and it's good for being able to control the ball as well and racket feel. Once we've achieved the rally, I'm a big believer that we have to bring the serve in as soon as possible. And it really, again, if you follow me on socials at My Tennis Coaching, it really bugs me when coaches serve the last 5 minutes of the session. when coaches get a basket of balls and they put it to the baseline and get the players just to serve. When in the game of tennis does that ever happen? Never. We always serve with a returner in the game. The serve always means something in the game. But when we just serve in isolation, again, on our own, like we're at the driving range, going back to golf, sorry, golfers, if you're on the call, it's just too fake. And the reason why coaches do it, again, the coaches controlling the environment. They want it to be easy. Serving's hard. It looks messy. If they can't get the serve in, they can't play the game. And the way I approach the serve, and you'll see it in the clip, is, okay, get the ball above your head, high five it in, let's go. And I link the serving quite quick. And what you'll probably find week 2, if I was to show you week 2, and please leave a comment down below if you want more of this content. I've got lots of it on video. If you'd like to see more videos and stuff, please let me know if you'd like to see the follow-on drills. But week 2, everything starts with serve now. Even when you're rallying 1, 2, 3, everything above head height. Even if you're doing head tennis, okay, start with the serve. Everything starts with serve. Every single rally starts with a serve. That's my rule as a coach. And you'll be surprised, because rather than hitting maybe, let's say, 20 serves in an hour in the traditional way, my players are hitting 100, 110, maybe 120 serves in an hour. And guess what? Their serves get better because they're practicing it more. So this is how I introduce a serve into rally 1, 2, 3, and it's called serve 1, 2, 3.
Like a dodgy wedding, it feels like. All right, well done. So we've done a game assessment. We've now done a bit of teaching. Again, I've focused on the forehand. What technical information I've given you so far? Hit the ball high, that's it. Hit the ball high. I told you how to do it. Back ahead, under the ball, lift it up. Short, simple, something they can follow. You all did it really well. You're so good. It's a great coach you've got. That's what it is.
Modest.
Now we have to do what we call a progression. We have to make the game move on a little bit. When you progress the drill, you can introduce a couple of things. You can introduce a shot before or after the forehand. So I'm going to introduce a shot before. So now we're going to serve non-dominant handed. Okay, so we're going to play the same game, but now we're going to serve. But always do the serve is, again, focus above head height. So you're going to lift the ball up, you're going to high five the ball above head height, and then you're going to play. Okay, so again with the serve, head height up, high five above head height, and then play. Thanks, Ed, Bone team. Didn't have.
I'm going to pause it there just quickly. And even when I'm doing a demo of the serve, I'm serving like a beginner. And if my beginner serve like that, I'd be quite happy, by the way. I'm not serving full. I'm not sort of going into the full 90-degree angle, hips and shoulders, turning away from the cup. I'm serving like a beginner, gently lifting the ball up, not even that high, and just high-fiving the ball over. And again, I'm trying to make that visual statement to the players. Okay, just serve like this. It's fine. This is how I need you to serve. If I serve full out and serve normally, the gap's too big. The expectation's too high. So I'm trying to I'm trying to show them something that they can achieve quite quick.
But thanks so much for putting your hand up. You're so keen. So imagine we're getting a rally of 3. So I'll start with the serve above head height. 1, 2, 3. Ed will stop it. He will then start with the serve for number 4. So overhead serve. 1. I'm still lifting my forehand up above head height. 2, 3, above head high here. 4, stop it. Ed then serves again. Happy? So what other shot have we introduced now? Serve. Do we serve above head height or below head height? You lot, amazing tennis players now. So back out to your positions, but now bring the serve into it as well. Non-dominant hand.
So we've introduced a serve, and again, big takeaway from me is, I'm not saying that I'm the greatest coach in the world, but I do try and keep it really simple. Like, just high five the ball over, lift the ball over to high, rally 1, 2, 3. Okay, stop it, go for 4. Stop it, go for 5. And again, the demo, if you watch how visually and physically I'm doing it, I'm trying to do it like a beginner. I'm trying to do it nice and smooth, nice and slow. I'm not going really quick and being super hyperactive and trying to whip the ball and showcase how great I can hit the ball. A big, powerful thing is visualization, and a lot of people will learn visually. So I'm trying to replicate that as well. And again, the game's really simple, but it's so effective. They're playing tennis. There's a server, there's a return, and there's a rally. Yes, maybe someone might not make a mistake, but the rally stops after 2 or 3 goes, and then it starts again, and you alternate and you're changing. They're playing tennis. They're playing the game. And what's great about this is they're learning all those skills. They're learning how to send and receive. They're learning how to be ready when they're sort of going to return serve. They're learning how to get the racket behind the ball set up. They're learning how to react by moving side to side, in this case, in sort of quite a small area. So that whole hitting process, they're learning all that. They're learning it in one go. They're not just learning how I hit the ball. They're not learning technique. They're learning tactics and technique and mental skills and physical skills. It's all integrated. And that's the most powerful approach to coaching, is if we integrate our coaching and we make it look like the game, then we have much better players. So we got one more game for you, because I'm a big believer that we should end up competitive. And the final game I'm going to show you is called Friends and Enemies.
So we're going to play a game called Friends and Enemies. So we're going to introduce the serve. So I'm going to serve, you're going to return. We have to get a rally of 2 before it becomes competitive. You're playing non-dominant. So again, with the serve, I'm literally going to lift the ball up. I'm going to tap it above head height, and then we're going to play the point out 1, 2. Then the point comes live. I can do whatever I want. I can come into the net. I can miss a volley. Oh, okay, fair enough. On the next point, we now have to get a rally of 3. So very similar to rally 1, 2, 3. We've got to play 3 as friends. Get non-dominant. Good luck. That's not bad. 1, 2, 3. And then as we play the point out competitively, oh, if I make my opponent move, oh no, I made a mistake. We'll then play again. What's our rally? Our friends rally now. What number? 4. Again, with the serve, you can serve from wherever you feel comfortable. Yeah, if you feel comfortable from here, great. If you want to serve a little bit further back and play a little bit further back, great. We've got to get a rally of 4. 1, 2. If the rally breaks down, we've got to just carry on from 4. Make sense? So, what shot do we use to start off the rally now? Serve. Is the serve an overhead shot or an underarm shot? Overhead. Well done. So let's go back out to your last positions, but go 1 place left.
So that was the last game, Friends and Enemies. So the idea is to make sure that it ends in some form of competition, because at the end of the day, our sport is a competition. It's tennis. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. But I've really included the elements of what we've been working on. So lifting the ball above head height in terms of the friendship rally at the start. It includes a serve and return, and it's just a fun way of sort of ending the session. It's a little bit sort of working together as a team, but then there's also that sort of competition element as well. And we're almost out of time, so we've got just a few minutes left of the webinar. My main sort of takeaways for you for this short webinar, hopefully, first and foremost, I hope you found it really useful and you've sort of learned some stuff, even if just learned a couple of new drills. But we've also looked at some key coaching skills as well. As tennis is a sending and receiving game, and I think when we coach it, we need to make sure that the players do both. They don't just focus on the sending, the technique. They focus on receiving the ball. It's very much a multi-skilled game as well. Physical, mental, tactical, technical. Why just teach one technique when we can teach all 4 at the same time? 4 for the price of 1 sounds much better. I think we've got to build confidence in adults. Confidence comes first, technique can come later. So once they can make the ball into the court a lot more, they'll sort of grow in confidence, and then you can start making a few more changes. Sorry, the joys of being live, I guess. Keep it simple. So don't overcomplicate it with grips and stances and sort of tennis jargon. Keep it simple. Most players are kinesthetic, so I think you're teaching. So kinesthetic, for those of you who might not know, is they learn by feel, by doing. So your teaching points should very much be in and around something they can see or something they can feel. Use step to achieve the game. So change the space, change the task, change the equipment, change the people, make it easier or make it more difficult once they can achieve success. Bring the serve in straight away. Most important shot in the game. I think if we include the serve more, then it makes the game better. It makes it easier. Makes the serve less judgmental and less pressure on it. And make it fun. Just make the sessions fun and let them play the game. Don't be worried if they can't do it straight away, because if they can't play on week one, but you keep this philosophy or this idea of game-based or an integrated approach, by week 6 they'll be able to play, and they'll be able to play matches, and there'll be a big difference to being able to perform a skill in a closed, isolated situation to not being able to play and perform the skill in an open match situation. And that brings us towards the end of the webinar. I've just got a couple of things that are actually really important, so hopefully you'll sort of stick around, and it's hopefully going to be much beneficial to you to stick around, because I do produce lots of free content. So I produce a blog twice a week at mytenniscoaching.com. Those blogs range from drills like this one, like you've seen. It could be coaching advice, player advice, equipment lists, best shoes, best rackets to use. So I do blog twice a week, normally on a Monday and Wednesday. So please do feel free to check them out. I do produce long form videos on YouTube at My Tennis Coaching. So on I've got stuff like Djokovic forehand analysis, how to do it with demonstrations if you're a coach, how to do game assessments if you're a coach, how to hit a forehand, and sort of all that jazz. So long form videos on YouTube. I do produce short form content. Typo there, sorry for typos. Short form videos as well. So please feel free to follow me on Instagram at My Tennis Coaching, or on Facebook, My Tennis Coaching. And we do have a Facebook group as well. So it's called My Tennis Coaching Group. And we've got just under 3,000 coaches and players in that group. And there's normally 4 to 5 posts a day from coaches or players, and some great advice on there. And I tend to put some exclusive stuff in there as well. And I host one of these once a month on there. And if you are interested in working with me, my website is My Tennis Coaching, and I do lots of online, and I also do lots of face-to-face services as well. Stuff like video analysis, match analysis, mentoring. So please feel free to check out mytenniscoaching.com. And last but not least, I got one last special announcement for you. So I have now a subscription offer on Facebook. So you can subscribe to my page, and it's a very small subscription, but you get lots of really good benefits. And the reason why I'm going for this sort of low-cost subscription model, because this does take time. It does take money. I do invest in equipment such as videos and lighting and stuff like that. And I do plan to sort of build a professional studio at some point in the sort of near future. So it's just a little way of you helping me out, basically. But obviously, I want to give you good value as well. So if you do subscribe to the page, you will get exclusive daily tennis content. And that will be drills, videos, and my normal content, but it'd be just exclusive for you. I'll go live every Friday and do a 60-minute webinar. It may be on a subject like today. It may be a Q&A. It may be a guest interview. I may get other coaches in. It may be a reaction video, but that will only be available to the subscribers, and that will be exclusive to them. It won't be on any other social media platform or my YouTube or my website. Exclusive just every Friday for my Facebook subscribers. You'll get access to the Grand Slam Club, which is a private Facebook group. Again, a lot of exclusive content, and the live videos will be streamed in there. I think the biggest benefit for this very small amount of money is you get 25% off my online coaching services. So my video analysis package is over £100. So you could save £25 on that package just by being a subscriber. So for the very small price, which you'll see there at the bottom, you could save yourself £25, even if you just subscribe for 1 month. It gives you a huge discount on that. And other benefits coming soon. So I'd really like to hear your ideas, what you would like to see in that, and playing around with ideas for those of you who are based in the UK of doing like a meetup, like we get together and do like a face-to-face coaches conference with all the coaches that are on these groups, and we should get together and share ideas and sort of have like a network event. I'm going to sort of look to link up with a racket retailer as well and give you exclusive discounts on equipment. But I'm definitely open to ideas for other benefits. So again, please feel free to either DM me or leave the comments below. And it's just £3.50. I say just £3.50. That's an awful lot to some people, especially in this day and age of cost of living crises and government spending, no matter what country you're in. I've tried to make it as cheap as possible. And I said it will be reinvested. This is not going to go to pay for any car or holiday. This is going to go into sort of helping me build a studio, basically, because that's my plan, to build a home studio with good lighting, good camera, a really good professional setup, and that will then allow me to deliver more content and more regular content as well, because I hope, and that's the reason why I do these videos, is to bring value to you at a low cost, because tennis coaches are very expensive, and I fully understand that. And in this day and age that we're living in 2020, when I'm recording this, money is tight, and you might not be able to pay £60 for a private lesson. You may not be able to pay £120 for a coach mentoring or video analysis package, but you can watch my one of my videos and hopefully get some value from it. But listen, thanks so much for tuning in. I will go live again in the next few weeks on YouTube and the Facebook groups. But the new subscriber model will go live from the 1st of November, and I'll be going live every Friday. As always, please get in touch. If you have enjoyed the video, feel free to leave any questions or comments. I know a few questions or comments have probably come in during the course of this. I was a little bit tight on time, so I didn't have time to reply during the feed, but I will go through all the questions and comments in the feeds and get back to you individually. If I can't get back to you individually, I will probably maybe put out another video this week just answering those questions and comments. But listen, thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and I hope to see you all again very soon. Take it easy.